The New South Wales budget will be handed down by Treasurer Mr Mookhey on Tuesday. Since winning the March election, the Treasurer has spoken about the challenges Australia's largest state economy is facing and has watered down expectations. So, how brutal will the budget be? I caught up with the Treasurer earlier this week.
Well, I'm excited. It signals a change for New South Wales. We're getting on with the job of giving the state the fresh start that it voted for. People will see in this budget we're taking responsible steps to fix the state's finances so we can deliver better public services. At the same time, we help families through this once-in-a-generation cost of living crisis.
This is the first Labor budget since 2010. Back then, the Treasurer was Eric Roosendahl. How brutal is this budget going to be for the Australian people?
I think this budget is going to be balanced. It absolutely threads the needle between repairing the state's finances and freeing up resources that we can then reinvest in people's schools, in people's hospitals, in people's police stations and their other critical services. It has been hard. It's not been easy to get that balance right, but we are doing budget repair responsibly, and we're doing it so we can get on with fixing the state's essential services just as we were elected to do.
How many years away is a surplus?
Well, it's going to be hard. We inherited the biggest deficit one incoming government has inherited from its predecessor in generations. We have record levels of debt and rising. At the same time, the cost of government borrowing has skyrocketed. So it's not going to be easy at all. What people will see on Tuesday is a responsible plan to get us back to surplus. At the same time, we're meeting our core responsibilities as a state government.
Yeah, it feels like since you won the election, you've been trying to ram home the message the state's finances are in a pretty bad shape. But looking at the ratings agencies, 2 out of 3 still have New South Wales with a AAA credit rating, so it can't be that terrible.
I think the New South Wales economy is incredibly resilient. I think that is a credit to New South Wales business and New South Wales workers. They got us through this pandemic, but we have to be upfront about the fact that as a result of the spending that we did then, but equally the spending that the previous government embarked upon after the pandemic, the state is facing some financial difficulties. I'm also really conscious of the fact that New South Wales families are doing it really tough right now too. And 12 interest rate rises over such a short period of time is absolutely hitting New South Wales households hard, particularly those with mortgages, particularly those who are renting. And so we're watching that like a hawk so we can properly make sure that we're calibrating our policy settings for the conditions the economy is in.
Your government's announced a lot of reviews since March: expenditure, infrastructure, tolls, metro trains, special commission of inquiry into healthcare. The list keeps going on. When can we expect some action on some of these points here?
Well, we are acting on some of these points that we commissioned. And I think most people would expect an incoming government, especially one that has succeeded a party that was in power for 12 years, to take a good look at the state of the books, to take a good look at the states of key policy programs. And we've had to do that because so many programs and projects were off the rails. I mean, we make no apologies about the fact that we had to rescue the Sydney Metro's City and Southwest project. Equally, we've had to inject in this budget $800 million to get the state's energy transition back on track. We've also acted on what we said we would when it comes to cleaning up the transport asset holding entity. So I think people are seeing the prudent step to check the state that we inherited, but they're also now seeing this government act on those findings.
Will the Metro West get cancelled?
We're not cancelling that project in this budget, but we are absolutely pressure testing that project and every other project.
Parramatta Stage 2 for the light rail?
Yeah, we're delivering our election commitment that we said we would. We are putting aside money in this budget to get construction underway of that project. But we are pressure testing major infrastructure projects because we are borrowing so much money from our kids and our grandkids to build them. I think it is prudent that we do that, and we're wanting to make sure that if we're going to make a massive investment, that we are going to yield a strong result, particularly when it comes to housing, because we are in such a housing crisis here in New South Wales.
Obviously, borrowing costs for the government are soaring as well. You've made some changes to TCorp. How much more money is that going to help over the forward estimates?
Yeah, we are having to unwind some of the more controversial policies that the previous government had when it came to financial markets. Previous government was intending to borrow billions of dollars and invest that in global stock markets and financial markets at a time of immense uncertainty. So we are tasking TCorp with shaking up the state's funds management. We look forward to implementing that reform in our next budget. That will help us significantly manage the state's net debt.
There's a lot of public service wage increases coming through as well, teachers, healthcare. How big is the wages bill going to blow out to over the next few years?
I think what people will see is that we are delivering our commitment to improve public services by dealing with the staff shortages that are hitting so many of our critical and vital functions. The fact that we don't have enough teachers, the fact that we don't have enough healthcare workers, the fact that we don't have enough police. People will see that we are balancing that need to fix essential services by solving these staff shortages with proper budget savings that means the state can afford it.
You're obviously looking at other ways to generate revenue, the new coal royalties that came in recently. What about other resources in the mineral sector? Is there a possibility of other royalty increases?
Well, by far the most significant royalty source of income for New South Wales does come from coal. We have modernised the royalty system here in New South Wales to ensure that it matches market conditions. That's involved some tough conversations with the mining industry, and it's fair to say they're not thrilled, but we think we got the balance right. We equally are wanting to see the potential we have as a global supplier of critical minerals for the energy transition. So we've got more work to do and more conversations to have with the mining industry. We want to work with them constructively so we can put New South Wales at the forefront of the global critical minerals revolution.
One of the big users of coal is the Eraring Power Station. Origin Energy intending to shut it in 2025. How much longer do you think it's going to need to stay open, noting that it can actually operate until 2032?
Well, we'd like Origin to make a clear statement about what their intentions are for 2025. They certainly have filed a notice, but we're looking forward to them clarifying if that's indeed is their intention. At the same time, we don't want Eraring to stay open for a day longer than it needs to, and nor do we want to pay a cent more than we have to. Eraring will rank as arguably one of Australia's worst privatisation decisions. Previous governments sold it for $50 million. As a result, we now find ourselves in a position where we don't have control of our energy future. The future of that power station is determined by the private owners who have done very well from that privatisation. Our message to Origin is this is not an opportunity to game the people of New South Wales, and we look forward to working with them so we can make sure we get the energy transition back on track.
But you'll let it stay open long enough to keep electricity prices stable. You don't want to see prices suddenly spike with a closure.
Well, we have more conversations to have with Origin, the private owners of that facility. What we are doing in this budget is injecting $800 million to connect renewable energy zones to the grid faster. The sooner we can connect those zones to the grids, the sooner we can close coal-fired power.
Michelle Bullock starts as the Reserve Bank Governor on Monday. Have you met her since her announcing that she was Governor?
Very briefly on the streets of Martin Place. We ran into each other.
You bumped into a lot of people there.
I did bump into her. I congratulate the new Governor on her appointment. We look forward to working with her. I made clear when I provided a statement to the Parliament in June that I do think that state governments have a responsibility to ensure that we're not adding to inflationary pressures, so we can make the job of the federal government and the Reserve Bank a little bit easier. We want to see inflation come down too. We want to see people's living standards go up. We want people to have real wage growth again. The sooner we get inflation back under control, the more robust our economy will be.
Well, Michelle Bullock spoke earlier this year about one way to bring down inflation is for unemployment to actually lift to about 4.5%. What did you make of those remarks?
I think that that was a pretty orthodox view that you'd expect from any Reserve Bank Governor. I think that what we have to do is ensure that we are lifting the skills of our workforce. Unemployment goes up, unemployment goes down. It right now is at historical lows. What we are hearing is that 12 interest rate rises over such a short period of time is certainly having an impact on employment markets, and we certainly do think that unemployment is likely to rise. That is the result of those interest rate rises. It's good that New South Wales is creating jobs. I saw that yesterday when, I saw that this week when the job figures came out. It's a good thing that we're creating jobs, but we want to make sure that we're also investing in the jobs of the future, which we're doing through this budget.
New South Wales Treasurer Daniel Mookhey, thanks so much for your time.